Shao Kahn created us as well. You cannot kill what is already dead. Magic binds me still.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to another Mortal Kombat Mobile character review. Today we are taking on one of the guest characters, Unstoppable Jason Voorhees. I am well aware that he's one of the fan favorites, so let's take a closer look and see what this character's all about. Unstoppable Jason Voorhees is part of the Netherrealm class and his passive is called Undying Will. Even when defeated, Jason rises again with increased damage and +1 bar of power. Unstoppable Jason Voorhees was already part of the MKX mobile days and he always has been a challenge card. He was maxed out with level 50 and Fusion 7. And basically from the beginning his passive was always the same. After you completed his challenge he was available in the old store for 313 souls. Of course he's also part of the challenge pack, but he was and still is part of several other packs, for example like the horror team pack, or when we are talking about packs post 2.0, then for example the Unstoppable Jason Voorhees chest, not to forget all the Halloween events that have been going down during the past years, and of course very certain almost every time Friday the 13th, which of course makes the most sense. A little later on the level cap was raised to level 60 and Fusion 10. And that was obviously not on purpose, but somehow it's a little tribute to Jason X. Jason's gear piece is the hockey mask and it gives you 35% max health boost, 50% resistance to all debuffs for Jason Voorhees characters only, and 25% chance to reflect 100% basic attack damage when blocking. In terms of his feats of strength, he will have to perform 3000 combo enders to unlock his rune. For his victory stances he will have to win 750 matches in Faction Wars. For his taunts he has to perform 1500 special 2 attacks. For his icons he has to knock out 500 Cassie Cage enemies. For his backgrounds he has to perform 250 X-ray/fatal blow attacks. And for his titles he has to knock out 1000 enemies. So now let's have a closer look at the victory stances one by one, and we are starting with Malice. Next up we have Gun Show. Third would be It's Over. And exclusive for Unstoppable Jason Voorhees, Joke. And on your victory screen it will look like this. Now I'm going to show you all of his backgrounds. Next up we have the icons. And finally the titles. Unstoppable Jason Voorhees has two kinds of combo enders. The first one is composed of merely just a few hits and a shoulder tackle, while the second one directly goes into a kick. And especially noteworthy here is that both of these attacks merely push the enemy back and don't knock them to the ground, which makes it ideal for follow-up attacks, and that's one of the biggest strengths of Jason Voorhees here. His special 1 attack is called Runaway and it has a strength buff tied to it. And the important thing here is that this strength buff applies already before the special 1 is executed. Also noteworthy is that this special attack is capable of KOing your opponents. His special 2 is called Awakens and it has a heal buff tied to it, which constantly causes Jason to regenerate health unless he is poisoned, and nowadays it even seems that bleed and fire also stop regeneration processes. And just like his special 1, the special 2 is also capable of knocking out your opponents. His X-ray is called the Horror and it has a bleed effect tied to it. And this X-ray is completely identical with his diamond variation, now Nightmare Jason Voorhees, formerly known as Relentless Jason Voorhees, and of course the Slasher variation. His passive is quite similar to Slasher Jason Voorhees, just with the difference that he only revives one time, but of course you can add some other gear pieces like the Living Dead armor or the Frost Orb to enhance that regeneration amount a little bit. But on his regular revive he comes back with 1 bar of power and a strength buff. Please note that this strength buff can also be stacked with the one of his special 1. So now it's already time to recommend some gear for Jason Voorhees, and of course, very obvious is his hockey mask. That would be my absolute first choice, because it just gives him health, and on top the resistance to debuffs by 50%. Of course, if you are using the Hawk Stance from Talent Tree, this will already increase to 70%. But you can add even more resistance to the buffs, for example by giving him Sindel Signet Ring. Now this one as the best choice, because it combines several effects like poison, bleed, slow and stun at the same time, and in this case both by 50%, so that makes him 100% immune to poison, bleed, slow and stun. On top you have the other 70% then for stuff like power drain or fire. And here now a little extra tip, just aside from the big one. For example, if you say you don't have Sindel Signet Ring, just take a look at the very beginner gear. For example, like the medallion, which gives you 30% resistance to poison and bleeding, so that already makes 100% if you combine that with the hockey mask and the talent tree. The Bloodstone ring does basically the same thing, just with 50%. Then you could go for the elemental stones, which give you 50% resistance to slow and stun. And in case you played the Tower of Horror and had the chance to max out the Bone Claw, that would be also 50% resistance to poison and bleed. But now let's rather continue, and my third choice would be the Vial of Infinite Blood, which gives you a block breaker on basic attacks and the chance to apply bleed on combo enders, which totally makes sense since Jason is using his machete during combo enders. My fourth choice would be the Living Dead armor, which also comes from the Tower of Horror, and here even a Fusion Zero will go a long way and just reanimate you one more time, so this Jason has also 2 chances. But now it's time for my absolute favorite in that combination, and that is Scoundrel's Cybernetic Heart, for a very simple reason. The moment he gets knocked down and is going into his revive, animation, then he will not only get that bar of power, but his power generation will increase to a maximum. So you can either go for a special 2 in case you choose to heal, or you just wait until you reach the X-ray, and especially here with the Living Dead armor as assistance, this will be so easy, you will have no fears to defeat your opponents. In terms of recommended characters to play with him, the obvious choice would be Vengeful Chinook, since he's a fellow Netherrealmer and also will give him the chance for critical hits. But aside from that, it's a little bit difficult because most Netherrealmers just play for themselves, so they don't share passives that frequently with other characters. But if you enjoy playing Netherrealm teams because of this very aspect and just think let everyone go for himself, then how about you add Slasher Jason Voorhees to the mix, because he can revive twice, and if you combine that with Unstoppable, it's already kind of a troll team, because they constantly reanimate, and if you add the Frost Orb or the Living Dead armor to this occasion, it's total fun. With Nightmare Jason Voorhees, you could just complete the triple Jason team. And another thing that I really like, especially when I play him with the Vial of Infinite Blood, adding Vampirus Melina to the team, because thanks to her passive, bleeding opponents will take more damage then. But the personal favorite in my book is Warlock Quan Chi, because he reanimates Jason also one more time and also brings him back with 25% health, which can already be enough just to get him back up to a special 2 and start the healing process all over again. To come up with a verdict for Unstoppable Jason Voorhees is super easy, because he's hands down one of my most favorite characters when it comes to playstyle and usefulness in Netherrealm teams, and since Netherrealm is my favorite class of all of them, I will constantly have the choice between only a few characters, and Unstoppable Jason Voorhees is definitely very high on the list if you want to create a great Netherrealm team. The healing ability on Special 2 is incredible, his passive absolutely awesome, especially given that he reaches then his Special 2 or even his X-ray in no time, and then either starts healing or takes out the enemy just directly in one blow. And let's not forget the impressive basic attack chaining, because this Jason Voorhees feels like the fastest Jason we have in the game, and in a way I find him even to be way better than the Diamond variation, which has that nice ability to evade, but on the other hand, once he is down, and this Jason here comes back. Despite just being a gold card, he really has a little bit of an edge over the Diamond. Also in terms of damage output, I find Unstoppable Jason Voorhees way more solid than, for example, Slasher, which also is a gold card, but with Slasher it's really very slow matches and you wanna inflict pain, while here with the Special 2, for example, sometimes you just erase an opponent in one go, and then the next one comes in a few hits, another Special 2 and the next character. So it's just like clockwork with Unstoppable Jason Voorhees, and he doesn't even seem to break a sweat. He may get a little bit into trouble once his regeneration ability is interrupted, but make absolutely no mistake, Unstoppable Jason Voorhees is one of the best gold cards we have in the game, despite him being already a quite old card. So now it's time for the pros and cons again, and my first pro is easily the heal on Special 2. It can basically guarantee that you just can't stay with Jason on the field without feeling the need to tag to your other teammates. Even if they are ready loaded with an X-ray, you just keep going with Jason because it's so much fun to play him. My second pro, and that's also another very big one for me, is the resurrection, because it also gives you that 1 bar of power as already mentioned, either for a special 2 or the X-Ray. And let's not forget that we can tag in Unstoppable Jason Voorhees, so he can absorb an X-Ray completely and then just reanimate again, so you will not lose the character just because your opponent has an X-Ray ready. My third pro, and that's also one that I already mentioned before in this review, and that would be his amazing chaining ability of basic attacks. And by that I mean that he really can go through entire teams with just a few basic hits, every now and then a special attack in between, and sometimes you don't even get hit in between. You are great and fast with Unstoppable Jason Voorhees. You can take on characters like Assassin Jade and all the others, so he is absolutely an all-rounder in every situation. So now let's get into the negatives. And as a first con, I would say maybe that he is barely supportable because he's a NetherRealm character, and as I already said, aside from maybe Vampiress Melina, Warlock Quan Chi and Vengeful Shinnok, there are not many NetherRealm character who will really give him something. He will also not get anything that much from other characters. There may be a few who share their passives with every card in the team, regardless of who it is, but those teams often don't really feel that perfect. And I'm honestly having a really hard time to come up with cons for this amazing gold card, and the only thing that I could think of next would maybe be his last victory stance, the so-called choke, which kind of feels awkward because he just has nobody to choke out, and I'm aware that he is supposed to choke out the player, but it still kind of looks awkward. And usually when I'm not reviewing this character, I would always go rather with the third stance called It's Over, because he just stands there, does the head tilt, even though it's more Michael Myers, but it's still fine. Strike Force, Johnny Cage, the man, the legend. Of course, every time when Jason revives, Johnny Cage will get a bar of power, and he's of course his biggest bane in the game. And I found it to be like that even more so as he was still a gold card, because back in the day he got 1.5 bars of power for a reanimation, so that was really something to deal with, and a hard pill to swallow for Jason Voorhees. So then it's time for a final rating, and I guess you already feel that how excited I am about this character. And of course the only answer can be, for a gold card, he is a straight 10 out of 10. I love the way how smooth he plays, I love his special attacks, I love the design, I love the entire idea around this character for Mortal Kombat. And despite me having a lot of issues with many guest characters, Jason Voorhees is just perfect. But that brings me already to the end of this video, because that was Jason Voorhees in a nutshell for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this little character review about one of the greatest guest characters we have in MK Mobile. So thanks for tuning in again, please stay safe and healthy, take care of each other. Casey over and out for today.
Thank you for watching around the realm. If you enjoyed the slaughter and the bloodshed, you can support the channel by clicking on the like button. You can also click on one of the 2 videos presented by Baraka here. Also make sure that you are subscribed and click the bell notification icon to be notified upon new uploads. You all know the drill. Wound not kill, have a good one, and see you next time.